I recently stumbled upon a post from Alex Hormozy. If you don't know him, he just got a world record. But what really matters here is that he says it's easier to make $10 million than $100,000 a year. So that stopped me in my track. So I read the full post, and here's what he said. Imagine that you're walking. If you aim to walk for 12 minutes, you cover roughly zero point 0.5 miles. Not a lot. He said, imagine that you're biking. If you aim to bike for 12 minutes, you cover about 3 miles. And he said, imagine you're driving, all right? You get the point. Then he said, imagine you're flying. If you aim to fly for 12 minutes, you'll cover a lot of miles. The point is, you will go far. So he said it's easier to make $10 million than $100,000 a year. And this guy has an idea what he's talking about because he just sold a bunch of books for $105 million in 3 days. Okay. Now, why am I sharing this story? Because at the bottom of this post, he says it is easier to get to $10 million because you pick a different vehicle, but all of these take the same time. The opportunity vehicle that you pick to build your business is going to propel you the furthest. Okay. All you have to do now is replace 12 minutes with 12 years and pick the right business opportunity that will propel you to $10 million. The point is, if you have been having a hard time making meaningful income from your side businesses and investments, the problem is not you. It may just be that your vehicle needs to change. And hey, if we have not met, hey, I'm Dr. Chiagozie Fawale. I am the founder of Savvy Docs, where we help physicians and other high-earning professionals learn to build their own income stream so that they can practice medicine or do their craft on their own terms. Before I got started, being featured on large stages at conferences like say PIMD Con here, before people began inviting me to like speak on their on physician focused podcasts and hosting impactful trainings, even like this one. Before I was even spending time building communities of professionals or physicians. Listen, I started out doing something that you probably wouldn't even think about. I was selling essential oils as one of my early, not my first, but my early side gigs. Okay. Now, at the time, I would make a sale, and if I made a sale, I got $50, and I'll be so excited I made a sale, $50. I was chasing financial freedom using $50 sales as my vehicle. But thankfully, I did not stop there. As a matter of fact, right now I have done different things. We've done real estate, we've done all kinds of things, but at each point we have grown. In fact, somebody recently gifted me a Facebook group, right? Because she called me the queen of multiple streams. Okay. Now, whenever I have found something that has worked, for example, like with our short-term rentals, here you're seeing one of ours that was an off-market lake house. Like we got three lake houses and one off-market transaction. When I have found something that has worked, I have made it a point to share it with my clients, with my network. As a matter of fact, there was this doctor right here. This was in 2023 that I showed her this. She sent me this text. She said, total federal and state refund, $170,000. I was like, holy smokes. She said, thank you for all that you have taught me. Okay, so I've been teaching people about building wealth, about saving on taxes, about making money outside of their main craft, and they have gotten results when they have taken the time to do what I've said. Okay, because there's some work involved, right? And see this doctor over here as well, Dr. George here, who sent me a text basically saying, we got 70K in tax savings. We've never got a refund from the IRS since residency. She says it feels good. Now, in all the things that I have done, if there is one thing that I have learned from multiple businesses and side gigs, it is this one thing, and that is not everything is, as a high earning professional, not everything is worth your time. All right, but before we continue here, let's do a quick exercise, okay? Just take a sheet of paper and write this down real quick. What life goal is making you consider additional income streams? What is that life goal that is on your mind? Is it to cut back from work, to send your kids to private school, to take vacations without using a credit card? Just write it down on a sheet of paper, okay? Now, also write down how much monthly income will make that possible. Let's make it tangible. Are we talking 10K a month, 20K a month, 50K a month? Okay. Now multiply that number by 12 and keep your annual number handy. Now tell me, did you write down the big goal? Because if you did, I may just show you a framework that to help you go after it in a second. Because as someone who earns $300,000, $400,000, five, six, depending on what you're doing, right? By just showing up to work, you can't just be doing any random side gig out there. You have to raise the floor. What do I mean by your floor? Your floor is what I consider the minimum return that you'll be okay with, okay? It's like your filter. It's that bottom line. It's like, okay, anything lower than this, I will not take. But I recently have read a book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy where he talks about this concept of the floor, okay? And when you raise the floor, the first thing that happens is, as you can see on that little rectangle on the top, when you take that floor all the way up there, the ways you get them get filtered out, and you only have three things that meet the criteria on top there. Okay, this means that, for example, if you had a side gig that did 500 bucks a month, it wouldn't cut it because it doesn't reach the floor, right? If you had a side gig that did 1,000 a month, it wouldn't cut it because it does not reach the floor, right? Even if you did something that did 5K a month, it wouldn't cut it because it does not reach the floor. If you raise the floor, if you raise your standards, if you say, you know what, because of the kind of money that I earn, I will only focus on gigs that actually get me meaningful income. You go from having many pathways, many options, real estate, stock market, all the things, right? You go from having so many options to now having just a few pathways that you know can actually get you there. And as a result, you now have just a few things to study, just a few vehicles like we talked about, right? And you're now able to focus. Okay, so today I want to show you one of the solid pathways, the solid vehicle that I have found, right? I want to share that with you real quick so that you can also focus. All right. That new vehicle, my dear, may very well be buying businesses. We're not talking about building from the ground up, not starting from scratch, but buying mature, stable, profitable businesses. Okay. So imagine for a second that you bought a business and it generated you $200,000, $500,000, $1 million a year without having to double your working hours. Now, some of you may be thinking, Chiagozie, what are you smoking? I'm like, just hold on. I'm about to show it to you, okay? And what if you did this in one transaction? Not 50 doors, not 1,000 doors, not, 15,000 closings, but one transaction. All right. So today, over the next few minutes, I want to show you just a couple of things that when I've shown people, they've gone, wait, what? I'm about to show it to you. 3 secrets. Secret number 1, the $1 million cash flow secret. How making big money may be easier, quote unquote, than making small money. Okay. Secret number 2, the buy box formula, how to build in such a way that protects your weekend and buys back your time. And secret number 3, what I call the same down payment secret. When I learned this one, game changer, game changer. And because your time is valuable, I want to let you know upfront, okay? At the end of this, okay, I will be making an offer to those of you that would like to go further with us, those who would like to, compress your time to getting results. In fact, some people have already paid my business partner hundreds of thousands of dollars to help them do that, okay? But before I have the confidence to actually make you any offer to invite you to spend $1 with us, I want to make sure that I have stewarded the time you have already given me. So your time with me is going to be so good because I want to make sure that when I get to that point, I would have earned the right to make that offer, okay? So grab your pen and paper because what I'm about to show you may actually be game-changing. It may get your mind spinning, okay? But let's ride. All right. A couple of years ago, I attended an in-person event. It was hosted by a gentleman named Michael Byers. He has been buying businesses for over 20 years, 50 deals done, over 50 deals done. His current portfolio actually just closed on a business about 2 weeks ago. His current portfolio does about $145 million annually. He's also a pretty nice guy. But anyway, while I was at the event, I happened to sit down with the lady called Chelsea on day 3. This was during breakfast. She was a busy mom working up the corporate ladder. She had just bought her first business with Michael's help. She told me it was a coffee shop. It was her favorite coffee shop where she had built memories with her sister and her kids. Now, By the time I was meeting her, she had just passed the 1 month mark after she closed on the business, and she told me that in that first month of owning the business, her personal profit, we're talking after she had paid employees, paid the light bill, whatever, this was her profit from the business was about $30,000. At the time, I was like, holy smokes, what? Now, here is the kicker. She said no money came out of her pocket for this deal. And the prior owner of the business worked now as an employee in the business. Basically, he stayed on to work in the business while she now owns the business. I looked at her and I said to myself, what? She had one head. She had one head. And if you're Nigerian, you probably caught that right there. But she had one head, right? She's just like me. She's not superhuman. If she could do it, I can do it too. I knew I had to learn the system. All right. Thankfully, by the grace of God, at this point, we currently have a deal under LOI. That's the equivalent of being under contract in real estate. But what are we buying? We're looking for good, mature, maybe boring businesses, but they have to be cash flowing. Let me show you right now some real businesses that are for sale right now. Right now, okay? I recently went on a website called Biz Buy Sell. So screenshot that Biz Buy Sell. That is probably the largest online marketplace for businesses for sale. Okay, and I found this HVAC business. HVAC, the guys that cool, your heating and cooling. HVAC business. It was for sale for $479,000. Not too bad, right? But the cash flow the business does is $217,000. Now, whenever I do this, people usually ask me, what do you mean by cash flow? Cash flow means how much the owner takes home at the end of the day. After he's paid his employees, after he's paid the light bill, after he's paid for Johnny, after he's paid for all the equipment that they're using, this is what the owner puts in his pocket at the end of the day. Okay. So revenue in this business is $1 million. So they make $1 million annually. They spend about 800 and their cash flow is $218,000. And they're trying to sell this and they're only asking 479. Why? Because businesses are valued based on a multiple of the profit. That is something you must take away. Write this down. Businesses are valued on a multiple of the profit as against real estate. Okay, as against real estate. Let's look at the next one here for sale. This one is a printing business down in Texas. Their revenue is currently undisclosed, but that doesn't really matter here. Their cash flow is $1 million a year, and they're only asking 2.6 million. They're only asking 2.6x what they make as cash flow. Now, tell me for a second, if you had a way to finance it, don't worry about the financing right now. But if you could figure it out, would you pay 2.6 million to buy a business that will make you 1 million every year? 1 million, 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. That means by 2 years, you've already made back your entire purchase price. Would you do that deal? Type a will do in the chat right now if you would do that deal, right? Now, the next one here is an auto repair shop in New York. Okay. This one's revenue is 1.7 million. Their cash flow is $645,000. Okay. So a few of you watching here may be doctors, anesthesiologists, you may be, high earners. If you did this deal, you could potentially replace your income in, like I said, one transaction, even high income. Okay. This one, they're asking 1.5 million. That's a little over 2x. Not bad at all. Not shabby at all. Okay. Now, for the medical folks that are listening here, look at the medical aesthetics business right here. Their revenue is 2.9. Their cash flow is 448. They're only asking 750. That is less than two times their cash flow, right? And look at this last one here. This one is a med spa in Florida. $1.4 million revenue, cash flow 56. They're only asking two times their cash flow, 1.4 million. Can you see what I mean here by this could be your cash flow plan? If I showed you how to finance this, how to get this deal, would you be happy making a cash flow of $756,000 a year in a business or a gig or whatever you want to call it that somebody else is potentially running? Can you see how this can get you to your goals faster? All right. I'm going to introduce you to an old friend of mine, an old friend of mine called Doris. Okay. It was our former lake house. Okay. I used to call my lake houses names. So Doris was our first lake house. It was a gorgeous short-term rental. We bought it for $406 thousand dollars back in 2022. And in the 3 years that we held it, it made $87,000, $97,000, and then $97,000 again. Now, that was pretty sweet for one house making 87K, 97K, almost $100,000 from one house. Okay. That was pretty sweet. And I love my lake house. The profit on that was usually around $30,000 a year. But imagine when I found out that, so basically, with the same amount, roughly the same purchase price, I could have bought roughly same purchase price. I could have bought that HVAC business that I first showed you, the one that was 479 that they were asking for 79, right? And when you look at that cash flow number, instead of the $30,000 that I got from Doris, I could have gotten $172,000 from that HVAC business. Can you see why I did a whole flip? Can you see why I did a whole flip? Because I'm like, holy smokes, there is a place for real estate in a portfolio. Matter of fact, if you talk to Mike, Mike currently owns over 180 single family homes. But what he does is he uses the profit from the business to buy the real estate. The real estate becomes a parking lot, while the business is the machine that churns out cash. So that instead of you needing 50 doors to get $400,000 of cash flow, you can get that 400K of cash flow in potentially one deal. Write a one deal on your paper right there, right now. All right. Because if you take anything away from this training, it is that the vehicle makes all the difference. All right. So secret number two is the biggest fear that people have when they buy a business is that they think that they're going to be buying themselves a job. Listen to me. Whatever you do, don't buy yourself a job. Okay? Whatever you do, type it in the chat. Don't buy yourself a job. Okay? All right? So, what do I mean? Now, there's something that I call the buy box. And in this case, I call it the buyer's buy box. BYARS. That's Michael Byers' name. Okay? The buy box is a simple filter for your deals. It is basically something that says, okay, these are the criteria that I'm going to use to filter my deals. Anything that does not fit into this buy box, I'm going to let pass. All right. The buy box protects your money and protects your time. Now, Michael Byers, the guy that I said who said that event the last time, he he came up with this buy box based on over 20 years of experience, sometimes painful and costly experiences. Okay. You're going to look through many businesses, but the buyer's buy box will protect your money and to protect your time so that you don't waste time underwriting businesses that will not just be headaches, but also so that you don't buy yourself a job. All right, so what's in the buy box? What's the first criteria of the buy box? The first criterion is revenue. We are only looking at, for the most part, only looking at businesses that are doing revenue of $1 million to $10 million. The $1 million floor, right? Basically excludes the mom and pop businesses. It excludes the I'm chucking a truck type businesses where it's like just one guy and his truck and he is it. You're by putting yourself at 1 million, you're buying businesses that have figured it out. Okay, at least they figured out their first million, right? It also keeps you from having to then compete with the bigger companies, with private equity companies, because those guys have a ton of cash. They don't mind paying a ton more in multiples for the businesses. So by staying within $1 and $10 million, basically you filter for a very sweet spot that you can then also sell at a higher multiple. Now, the next criterion is 10 employees or more. With having a filter of 10 employees or more, you put yourself in a position where the business has enough employees to run it even after the seller leaves. It reduces your chances of having to be called in to change a sink. All right? Let me make sure I'm charged. All right. So all right. The third thing is that you have a profit margin of 25% plus. This increases your chances of meaningful cash flow. All right. Um, so, for example, let's say you buy a business that's doing $1 million, 25% profit margin means that at least there's $250,000 available for you for cash flow. You can maybe use 100 of that to pay your loan if you use a loan, and then you still have 150K of meaningful cash flow at the end of the day. Now, the next thing is that the business should be mature, at least 10 years in business. Now, this is a little flexible, but the point here is that you're avoiding startups. 90% of startups fail within the first 5 years. So when the older the business is, the more likely it is to be stable and successful. All right. And then the last is having a quarterback to run it. A quarterback is basically a manager in place who runs the business day to day. This could be a right hand man, right hand gal in the business, or even the owner himself or herself now are basically working as an employee in the business. This part right here is your ticket to passive income. Now, here is that screen again. If you want to screenshot it, it's a revenue criterion, 10 employees or more, profit margin 25%, 10 years in business, and a quarterback to run it. This means that you can generate meaningful income without having to add another 40-hour work week to your schedule. Okay, now a few of you might be thinking, but Chiagozie, how do I pay for a $2 million business? I got you, boo. All right. The same down payment trick that many doctors or professionals have not heard about. Listen, the government wants you to buy a business. The Small Business Administration will actually let you put down 10% to buy a business up to $5 million. You know that HVAC business that I showed you earlier, the one that does $217,000 with an SBA loan, you can buy that business for just $47,000 down. Now, would you put down $47,000 to make $217,000 in profit? Would you? I sure would. That's excluding your head service, of course. Now, banks want you to buy a business because the government backs 75 to 85% of every SBA loan that the bank makes. This means that after you pay 30% of the loan back, the bank is off the hook. So the banks actually want you to do this kind of loan so that the government can protect them, right? So both the banks and the government want you to buy a good business. And these loans are given based on the cash flow of the business. Yes, they'll underwrite you a little, but the primary determinant is the fact that the business has the cash flow. So that printing business that we saw earlier, that only would need 260K down. And I'll show you in a second how you could probably get that, say, if you don't have that in the bank right now. The aesthetic business that I showed you earlier, you only need $74,000 down, right? But one thing you have to know though about the SBA loans is that you need to be a US citizen. It caps at $5 million. The term is usually about 10 years. If you have the real estate, it's about 25 years. Interest rate is somewhere around, is currently in the tens right now. And a personal guarantee is usually required, even though you're buying it as a business. Now, beyond the SBA, there are other ways to finance a business, right? But wait, there's more. You can do what you call leverage buyouts. This one is the one that I consider the most fun. This is where you borrow money from banks using the assets of the target company as collateral. We're talking about assets like equipment, vehicles, real estate, accounts receivable of the business, right? So basically, you're using the business to buy the business. It is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, right? Another way you can finance businesses is by partnering with others. So you see how I said, oh, you can put down 260K to buy the business. Well, if you don't have had that amount, you can go find business partners and either give them a fixed return or give them equity in the in the business that you're buying as a way to basically have them come in on the deal with you, or give them a fixed return and then after a while you pay them back. However you splice or dice it, the fact is you don't have to have all the money in your pocket right now. You can go out there, source the funds, and then use the funds to do your deal. Now, the next one is seller financing. Not every seller wants a huge immediate payout. Some sellers would not mind holding a loan on the purchase. Okay. Now, they get smaller payments over a longer time frame. Their tax liability is spread out. I'm giving them a chance to actually bring it down. It basically becomes like a paycheck for them over time. Okay, so now I've given you at least 4 different ways you could possibly fund a deal: SBA loans, asset-based financing, partnering with others, and seller financing. These are the most common ways, but here is the thing about businesses. The list is enormous. I have a mentor actually that says that there are 150 ways he can fund a deal, right? Basically, the creativity is you can fund a deal with as much creativity as you can think up. Acquisition, therefore, becomes a puzzle to fix. When you learn the tools, it becomes a puzzle. You're asking, how can I fund this deal, as against, oh, I can't fund it. All right. So now let's take a second. Type your C in the comments. Let's see what is actually on the market for sale. Okay. We're going to open up a tool that I like to use, and it's called Big Deal Machine. All right. So basically, this is a tool. It's a proprietary software that Michael Byers built out for his own team to use to find deals. What it does is there are so many websites out there that you can find deals on, and it basically scrapes the internet every 4 hours, pulling up the freshest deals on the internet. And you can come in here, you can filter based on the cash flow, based on the asking price, based on location. So type in the chat where you would like me to search. Let's see here. Okay, so let's start with Atlanta. Okay, Georgia. Let's go to Georgia because it's by state. We're gonna do cash flow. Okay, so a bunch of you have asked me to find businesses that, or at least have put your goal. Now, remember that goal that you put in, that you mentioned earlier? That's the goal. That's the number we'll use in search. Now, a lot of you have asked me for businesses that do 50K a month, right? That comes to about 600K annually. So we'll toggle our cash flow to be minimum of $600,000. All right. And I'm going to leave these unchecked. Let's just say find in Georgia. All right, so let's scroll. So now I gave you the buyer's buy box. I showed you sort of what criteria I'm filtering by: the revenue, 1 to 10 million, the 10 employees, the 10 years or older, the profit margin of 25% or more, and the quarterback. Usually when I'm doing my initial search, I'm not filtering for the quarterback just yet. So at least those 4 things. All right, so let's just scroll here and kind of see what we come up with. Okay, this one has just 6 employees. I'm not going to touch that. This one here has 46 employees. That's great, but they're asking a bit much. They're asking like, I don't know, 6, 7x here, and I'm not going to do that. So let's scroll down here. All right, let's see what they have here. All right, this one here doesn't tell us how many employees just yet, but we can see here that their annual revenue is around 4.9 million. Their cash flow is somewhere around that 20-25%. Actually, it's like, yeah, it is like 25% of their gross revenue, so it meets that. Their asking price is less than 2x, which is amazing, right? And it's in Georgia. It's a kitchen cabinet wholesale business. It's nice and boring, nice and stable, type thing. It's not like a fad or trendy type business. And if we want this deal, we could just hit view details here, and then it'll take us to the original listing on the internet. It even says here SBA or seller financing possible for a qualified buyer. All right. So that's Georgia. We found something possible. We'll then explore. We'll ask for the NDA. We'll ask for the SIM or the packet from the seller. Now let's try somewhere else. Let's try Texas. Okay, so actually, even before we go to Texas, so can you see this is a business that is for sale right now? All right, it's a business that's for sale right now that they're asking that their cash flow is 1.2 million. So based on what we know now, they're only asking basically $2 million here. That means that with $190,000, you could possibly get a deal that is getting you 1.2 million in annual cash flow. This is pretty sweet. This is pretty sweet, actually. This one is actually pretty sweet. This is actually pretty sweet. All right, so let's go down now to Houston. Let's see what we find in Texas. We use the same cash flow criterion. Let's filter here. All right, so this is Texas, right? So basically, okay, so this one is in Dallas right here. This is a DFW pool designer. All right, their gross revenue is 3.2. Their cash flow is 600, roughly about 20%, okay? Asking price is 1.5, which is about 2 point something X of this. Within what I will buy it for. 10 employees, that's looking good. So yeah, we'll check that out. Request information. Let's see if we find anything else. That's 4 employees. I don't want that. This one, okay, cash flow is pretty low here. All right, look at this one. This one is an OBGYN clinic in West Houston. This one has 13 employees. They're asking their gross revenue is 1.4. It crosses our $1 million threshold. Their cash flow is 600, is almost like 50%. That's pretty sweet there. And they're only asking 2x. This one is actually pretty nice. Now, obviously not knowing the actual details of the business itself, but just at our initial screening level, this one passes that buy box criteria. So my next steps here would be click view details, open the original listing, request information, and then go, into conversations, into due diligence, into making sure that everything is nice and pans out. All right. So can you see? Can you see? Okay, so that tool that I just used, like I said, is called Big Deal Machine. And I'm going to tell you how you can get access to it towards the end of this. But honestly, though, can you see how knowing this can accelerate your goals, right? Type a 5 in the chat. Like, can you see how knowing this can accelerate your goals, right? Let me do a quick recap here. Everything we've covered in the last 20 30 minutes here. All right, the first thing that I showed you was I showed you how you could basically be making big money instead of little money. Like, instead of you buying the itty bitty, single family homes that'll make you 30K in profit, you could use the same money that'll get you 200K, 500K, $1 million in cash flow by getting just one business. I showed you the buy box formula that protects your time. I told you, you can have the business revenue, 1 to 10 million, 25% profit margin. What else did I say? 10 employees or more, 10 years or older, having a quarterback in place. I gave you that filter, that screening thing that can help you, keep yourself from buying crap, basically, right? And then I showed you the different ways you could possibly buy deals, the way fund your deals, the way you can slice and dice, right? And get a deal done. I told you about the SBA that does 10%, leverage buyouts, right? Asset-based financing. I told you about seller financing. I told you about, what else did I tell you? That was the fourth one. I forget the fourth one. But anyway, that there were so many options that you could use. Oh, partnering with people, right? To as your down payment or some stuff like that. Now, would you say so far, right? What would you say so far? Has our time together so far been valuable, right? Did you learn something new, right? Do you feel like you learned something that could possibly change your financial future? Can you see like how this could help you hit your goals faster, right? Is your mind currently spinning with possibilities? Is it? Tell me, like, really, is it? Would having a step-by-step system help you, do you think? Okay. How about, would you like to learn? Is it fair to say that learning from someone whose acquisitions currently do $145 million annually will be smarter than starting from scratch? And would you love some of the tools that I mentioned, like, and even maybe like a network of people that are actually doing deals? All right. So today I've given you a lot. It's been a lot. And maybe I talk a little fast. I know. Okay. But you have two choices. You could either go ahead and do this on your own, because I've shown you. I've shown you where to, search for deals online. I've shown you, that SBA loans, that's a Google search away. SBA loans, could do it for 10% down. You can create your own buy box, find deals yourself, eventually get your own results. Or you could decide that, instead of spending the next 2 years trying to figure it out through trial and error, you could learn the exact system, basically work with the guide, the exact system that Michael Byers has used to acquire over $145 million per year worth of businesses. You can go with the guide. You can avoid costly mistakes. You can basically get feedback as, like, learn how to get this done in a very controlled and systematized environment, okay? And that, my dear, is what I would like to offer you today. So, would you like me to tell you what we've put together? Do you give me permission to tell you about what we've put together to kind of help you down this second pathway? Okay, So it is with great pleasure that I would like to introduce to you the Catalyst Business Acquisition Bootcamp. Before I tell you what is included in the bootcamp, though, I'd like to kind of tell you how this came about. For about 10 years, I did what everybody said was the path to building wealth. I bought real estate, okay? I bought rental properties, I did duplexes, I did multifamily, I did flips, I did short-term rentals. I love my short-term rentals, right? But there was something that I kept hearing from people, and that was, you know, but this property is only going to do like $200 a month. And I'm like, yeah. It's long-term wealth building. I mean, it's long-term wealth. But after a while of hearing all that, it was like, okay, seriously, let me see. Are there other options out there? So when I now started learning about business acquisitions, it hit me like a lightning bolt. And I was like, wait, so what if I use the same down payment, not on real estate, but on the business, right? That one move could replace my income with just one transaction. It almost felt like somebody had been hiding something from me for a while, right? I felt like people were not talking enough about this online. And so I ended up, hosting an event called Acquire Your Freedom a few months ago. I had speakers come and teach from different walks of life. But after we were done, people were asking, is there a course for this? Is there a program? Like, we want more. At the time, I was like, well, I don't have anything to give you. But I was like, but I mean, people have come, they've learned, you might as well. And so I reached out to my mentor, Michael Byers, right? And so Mike had done over 50 acquisition deals. His portfolio currently does 145 million dollars annually. And he agreed to partner with me. He already had a systematic approach for buying cash flowing businesses, and I had a community of doctors and professionals that wanted to learn. And so we said, you know what? Together we could bring business acquisitions to professionals. And so we did. And so in the Catalyst Business Acquisition Bootcamp, you're going to be learning the 4 components to mastering business acquisition. Okay. And what are those 4 components? Deal flow creating, advanced acquisition financing, due diligence, and a hands-free growth business system. Now, imagine that you walk into a room where 90% of the people are fighting for the same deals. But because you have come to the boot camp, you now know that there is a back door. There is a way for you to go find the sellers before they hit the marketplace. To find the sellers where you are their preferred buyer. To find the sellers while they are still off market. So of course, you will start by mastering the public marketplace. We'll teach you how to use the public marketplace to your wild advantage, how to find the deals, filter them really quickly, talk to the brokers, get them to give you their deals before they even hit the market. You learn how to activate your professional networks for people to become your deal scouts. You learn how to find off-market deals. Um, you learn how to build a referral system where people are now bringing you deals that they come across because you have made it known. Okay, so picture this: you're having lunch with a colleague. She tells you about her accountant who has a client that's trying to retire. You pull out a pen and paper. You know exactly what questions to ask. You know sort of like how to work that situation and turn that random opportunity into a possible deal. So no more waiting for the perfect business to appear online. No more just waiting around. Now you're creating opportunities wherever you go. This, my dear, is the difference between being at the mercy of the market and being the one who creates the market. Okay. So at the Catalyst Business Acquisition Bootcamp, you're going to learn how to master the marketplace, how to activate your professional network, how to find off market sellers, and how to build a referral system. Now, you know how Fortune 500 companies almost never buy a company with cash, right? You're going to learn. They use things like seller financing, earnouts, creative deal terms, and more. Imagine how to get the full instrument tray of financing so that you can pick the strategy that matches the occasion. Okay, introducing advanced acquisition financing. You're going to learn seller financing mastery, basically how to make the seller the bank for your deal. You learn how to optimize your chances of becoming bankable. Okay, you learn creative deal structure design. You learn how to optimize your structuring so that you keep your cash flow good and you only pick options that will give you great cash flow. Okay, so picture this: a deal is on the market for 1.1. The business makes $400,000. You only have 90K. Instead of you walking away from that deal, though, you're going to learn how to get creative, how to carve things out, put this one down, put things in different buckets, and eventually be able to acquire that business and let the cash flow of the business cover the loan payments. Now, in about 4 months, just transaction time, right? You now own a $400,000 income stream that you own and control, right? So at the Catalyst Bootcamp, you're also going to learn advanced acquisition financing. All right. Now, you know what terrifies most professionals about buying a business? It's not the money, it's not even the hard work. It's the sinking feeling of, ugh, what if I'm missing something important? What if I'm missing something critical? And a lot of people get paralyzed because they're trying to analyze everything. All right. The difference between buying a gold mine and getting stuck with a money pit is usually knowing what to look for. At the bootcamp, you get the due diligence framework. What do I mean? I mean a critical questions checklist. You learn how to run the numbers, how to look at the numbers, how to kind of tell, okay, is this really a deal or is it not? You learn how to understand the staffing, understand, are there any key personnel that need to be there, that have to be given extra incentives to stay? Or are there others that may sabotage you when you acquire the business? You learn to understand the market position of the business, to know if the business is thriving because of trends that are ending or fundamentals that will actually continue. So picture this: a business looks perfect on paper. Everybody thinks, oh, it's great, it's great. But within 30 minutes, you discover that 60% of their revenue is from just one client, and that contract is expiring. Oops. Their top salesperson is leaving. A competitor just moved in. You're like, oh, red flag, red flag, red flag. Now, while others are excited and may make offers, you're like, peace, right? You're like, I'm out of here, right? Now, wouldn't you love to have that detective level confidence in every deal, right? Now, at the Catalyst Bootcamp, you're going to learn pre-acquisition due diligence processes. Now, let's talk about operations. Some people think they'll have to stop becoming, being, working in medicine or whatever it is that they do, and they'll now become a stressed out business owner. Listen, Warren Buffett doesn't show up to run Coca-Cola after he buys it, right? He puts the right people in charge and he gives them clear goals and collects the money, right? What if you could do the same thing? So at the bootcamp, you will learn a hands-free business growth system. You're going to learn how to find and train the right managers, simple tracking systems, easy growth strategies, and how to build a sellable business. Because as Mike likes to say, it's not the $1 million that you're going to be making every year that even matter. It's the money you make on the sale. Here is what Mike does. He buys these businesses that are doing 1 million to like 3-5 million. He grows them, right? Grows the profit, let's say, to like from 1 million to 3 million, and then he sells it. The secret is that businesses that make more money sell for higher multiples. So even though he bought it at like 2x, 3x at first, when he grows the profit, he can sell it for like 5x. So that $3 million profit business can now be sold for 5x, 15 million for something that you bought for 1 million, 3 million. That's like $12 million in profit in like a 2-3 year window. Just saying. All right, so here is the full picture. This is what's going to be taught to you at the Catalyst Bootcamp in a systematized but serious and intensive maybe way where you walk away feeling like you got way more than you even paid for. Now, you really want to be in the room where it happens. This is going to be happening live and in person in Syracuse, New York, September 12th through the 14th. I know you're watching this with a couple of days to go. If you can come to Syracuse, absolutely be in the room. Buy the ticket, take a bus, ride a bike, whatever you need to do to be in the room. If you absolutely cannot be in the room, though, you can be virtual. Okay, there is a virtual option, but I'll say choose that only if you can't be in the room. They cost the same anyway, right? You might as well come to the room and be in the room where it happens. All right. So you may be thinking, okay, Chiagozie, what is the investment? I'm chomping at the bits to know how much it costs, what's the investment to actually be in the room where it happens. Anybody here own a Tesla? Have you tried to buy tires for a Tesla recently? Right? I was looking this up recently and I was like, holy smokes, a Tesla tire costs like, 47.50. Like a tire package is like 3K to 5K sometimes, right? Or did like any of you take a vacation this past summer? Right? How much did that trip cost? Okay. Now, if you were going to hire Mike in a half day consultation, Mike will charge you $25,000. I mean, the guy does, he's pretty good at what he does, right? He'll charge you $25,000. All right. Now, over 3 full days, that'll be over $150,000. And trust me, he will not take that gig from you because he values his time so much. But instead of having you pay $50,000 for, a 3 day thing with Mike, we initially actually put the investment for the boot camp at 5K. But here's because you're watching this, because you are seeing this right now, I'm going to be doing something for the serious professionals that are watching this right now. You've come this far, right? The people who understand the value of immediate action when they see a critical opportunity, all right? You can join the boot camp for the next couple of hours for just $29.97. And honestly, I don't know when you're watching this. So $29.97 may not be your number. It may have gone up to $39.97, which is still less than the 5K. Okay, which is still less than the 5K. But if you're watching this while it's still $29.97, grab it, like snag it. Don't sleep on it, okay? Because that includes your choice of either being in person in Syracuse or doing a virtual VIP experience. Even if you're virtual, you get the chance to ask questions and participate as though you were in the room. But as you can see, there is a timer on this page. So you kind of have to decide now. As a recap of what you'll be getting your deal creation system, the advanced acquisition financing system, your pre-acquisition due diligence system, your autopilot growth system. If you're in the room, you'll be able to make rich connections. And if I forgot to add this, if you're a medical person, we'll also be having another speaker. His name is Philip Ndogo, who's going to be teaching about what to look for in medical practices. Okay. Now, to sign up, you got to go to go.catalystbootcamp.com. Okay. Go.catalystbootcamp.com. And of note, that's HTTP, not HTTPS. Go.catalystbootcamp.com. All right. If you can't attend in person, fine, you can do the VIP. You will still get the complete experience, okay? But when you leave Syracuse on September 14th, you're going to have a clear action plan for your first acquisition. You're going to have the confidence to evaluate and structure your first purchase. You're going to have a group of peers you can call, people that you get to meet, right? You can sort of like throw ideas, you can maybe partner with, you basically have built a network. But wait, there is more, right? Because the 3 day training alone would have been worth your investment, however much you pay, honestly, right? But we're not stopping there, right? You're also going to get these exclusive bonuses, all right? The first thing is, guess what? Big Deal Machine. The tool that I showed you that I used to kind of find the businesses earlier. Yep. You're going to get 6 months of access to Big Deal Machine. Here's the thing about Big Deal Machine. 6 months of access to Big Deal Machine is actually goes for $4,800. Okay. Because when Mike built this software, people were asking him and he agreed to sell it to them for $800 a month. He currently has over 200 people using the platform. You can do the math, okay? Now, this tool scrapes website every 4 hours, 847 websites every 4 hours, and basically saves you time. You don't have to go to multiple websites to find things, all right? Now, it also helps you filter deals. You can check for deals that were added in the last 3 days, so you can be first to the seller, okay? For me, that's how I use it. Now, he retails this for $800 a month, and like I said, it's worth $4,800, but when you sign up for this bootcamp, whether at $29.97 or $39.97, can you see how like this bonus alone pays for your entire thing and you basically come learn for free, right? The next bonus that you're going to get is you get access to our deal document vault. This is my sort of vault of different documents he's accumulated over the years, including like things like letter of intent templates, due diligence checklists, operations documents, like how do you hire a manager, those kind of things, KPI sheets. I mean, each time I look at the vault, it's just a lot. Okay. Now, here's the thing. You're not going to need all those documents when you start. You're going to need them at different points. Matter of fact, you may be long gone from this event before you ever need any of them. But because you have them, this is basically your access into Mike's 100K vault. Okay. And I say 100K because he says it costs him about $100,000 to get some of the stuff that he has in there. All right. But this is free for you. It's worth 5K, I would say. But you get it for free today when you sign up. All right. Now, the third bonus is one that I'm actually creating, and that one is a 90-day playbook. This is basically your way of like leaving the event without overwhelm, leaving the event with a plan, okay, that you have now filled in based on what you learned, so that when you leave, you're not like, oh my gosh, that was so good, but it was like overwhelming. Oh, no, no, no. It's not overwhelming. When you have the roadmap, you're like, oh, okay, that goes right here, and that goes right here, and I'm going to do this on this day. That's exactly how it's going to be. All right. Now, no guessing, no confusion, just a clear roadmap from the bootcamp to your first business purchase. And then bonus number 4 is probably my favorite because I just literally just used this. Okay. So it's an AI industry research prompt. I recently had a deal in hand. And I needed to just it wasn't in an industry that I knew, but I wanted to kind of like tell the broker yay or nay, and I tried to research the industry. So because I'm fluent with AI, if you may, right? So I engineered a prompt that was going to give me, based on a particular structure that I normally use, to get me the exact output that I wanted, to get me questions to ask the seller, industry specific concerns to investigate, market size and growth trends, future opportunities and threats, key success factors that I needed to know. And so when you use the prompt for a business that you're evaluating, you could get these things in a couple of minutes. Now, this thing gave me a good old 12-page report. So this is not just a random chat GPT, like just random thing. Like I actually have to, change the settings and things to get me a nice solid report that I could actually use. So all these bonuses, I'll easily say probably. I mean, the big deal machine, the deal document vault. I will easily call these a total value of $12,000 plus the event itself easily worth $16,000. But today, particularly if you're watching this before Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, okay, then your investment is going to be just $29.97. After that, it's going to be a little higher. The choice is yours. The choice is yours, but I'm going to say choose fast, okay? Okay. Now, some of you may be watching this and saying, well, I don't know, maybe. Let me start, you may be thinking, I've got so much going on right now. I don't think this sounds really good, but I don't think I can do this right now. All right. You may be right, okay? There may be a lot going on, all right? But here, it's not about how much time you have. It's about what you're going to do with the time that you have, all right? What if you just spend 3 days, September 12, 13, 14, learning a skill that could possibly replace your entire income? Will that be worth it? Here's the thing. You're already spending time on wealth building. It just may not be working. That's why you're watching me. Right? But here's the other thing, though. You're not learning to run a business. You're going to be learning how to buy a business that somebody else potentially runs. The quarterback, remember? Here's the third thing. The goal is not for you to add another 40 hours of work to your week. You're going to be adding a few hours of strategic oversight, okay, of the quarterback, right? To generate substantial, nearly passive income. I know you didn't become successful by avoiding challenges. I know you became successful by learning systems that work and applying them efficiently. And I can tell you, this is no different. So right now, you kind of have 3 choices. You can either keep doing what you're doing, or you can continue to let the lack of time, excuse basically, keep you from building real wealth. I'm gonna be straight with you here, okay? Not being rude, just being straight. Or you can spend 3 days, invest 3 days learning a skill that could potentially change your family's financial future forever. All right? The choice is yours. Are you going to use next weekend to basically transform your financial future? Or will you let it slip away while you stay stuck? I don't know. I'm not judging, just asking questions. All right? So this offer basically expires on Monday night, 9 p.m. EST. If you're watching this after Monday night, you probably can already see that we're at the higher price now, okay? But it's still completely worth it because it's still not going to be as high as the 5K that we began on, all right? So you just want to I'm not here for, false scarcity, false urgency, like we're being real here, all right? Now, You may be asking, but Chiagozie, what if I'm working on those days? Like my schedule is built out 1 year in advance. Anesthesia, anybody? Right? I got you. Okay. I know it is a short notice, and you're right that your schedule may be packed. But here's how I want you to think about this. What if the timing is not a problem? What if it's actually a blessing? All right. How many times have you heard of an amazing opportunity and had months to think about it, and then you never did anything with it? You basically researched it to that, found reasons to wait, convinced yourself you do it next time. Oh, yeah, Chiago, say, when is the next time you're offering this? I don't know. I don't know if we'll do this next time, right? But when something is truly important, and it shows up right before it happens, it forces you to make a real decision. All right. So here is my solution to this. Number one, you can do the virtual VIP. This means you can be in your house participating as though you were in the room, right? You can ask questions, join the workshops, and get direct feedback from Michael. All right. Number two, you're going to have a full year of access to the replay. Okay. So even if you can't join live, you can get the replay. You can get this to be able to get the replay. All right. And then number three, this could very well be the blessing of perfect timing. All right. This could be the blessing of perfect timing. What I have learned in 6 years of business is that sometimes the right opportunity shows up at the right time. And sometimes, even if the timing seems wrong, sometimes it could just be God's way of getting your attention, right? So you found this webinar, you found this training less than a week before the actual event. What a blessing. What if you found it after it already happened, right? Listen, you might as well just jump at it and use the opportunity you've been given, because I know you're smart like that. All right. Bottom line, dude, you've got no excuses now. You could either attend in person, you can do virtual, or you can do the replay, right? Listen, I told you, it's love here, all right? All right. And you can access the training no matter what your schedule looks like. I know that successful people like you don't let scheduling conflicts keep you from life-changing opportunities. The real question is, how badly do you want to change your financial future, right? How badly? The timing will never feel perfect, but the opportunity is here right now. Now, some of you may be thinking, but will I actually get a deal done? Okay, so based on Mike's stats and numbers, both himself and his students, he's got, he's done over 50 deals now, right? On market deals usually take about 6 months to close on average, all right? Off market deals usually take him about 12 months to close. And this is usually because the sellers usually don't have all their stuff ready. But let me ask you a question. If it took you 6 months, will it be worth it, right? Will it be worth it? I say it is. In my world, it is. If it took you 12 months, will it still be worth it? If in the next 1 year you had a business that was doing 500K a year, would it have been worth it? Okay, so let's say somehow it was slow and it took you 2 years, right? Would it still be worth it if in 2 years from now you now have a passive income business or a fairly passive income business? Will it be worth it? Listen, this is not a microwave formula. It can take some time, but the rewards in my mind make it absolutely worth it. What's typically involved? Usually months 1 to 3, you're still kind of figuring it out. Months 3 to 6, the real work actually starts. You're talking to sellers, you are negotiating, you're like, doing your moves. Usually month 6 to 9, you have a deal that's nailed down. Now you're doing your actual transaction, right? But here's the real benefit of having a framework, right? It is that instead of you hoping your current investments will somehow create the wealth that you need, right? You can invest in one weekend and then have a system that will basically help accelerate or like define your movement over the next, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or whatever, right? And now you can now implement a system that can help you now own multiple businesses that generate substantial, potentially passive income. So tell me, what is it going to be? What is it going to be, right? Are you going to join us at the bootcamp? If you are, there's a button down below. Click it, join us. Done. All right. Other thing that I hear from people is, well, Chiagozie, what if I don't know anything about a business? I'm like, dude, I know, right? Buying a business can feel scary. But in this instance, you could probably do either of two things. You could either start with a business in an industry that you are familiar. Say like, if you're a doctor, then you can maybe buy a practice or something like that. Or you can buy a business that, like we say, has a quarterback, has someone in place that understands the workings of the business so that your expertise is not the important part. What you're going to be doing is not learning to be the expert plumber. You'll be learning to be the expert business owner. Those two things are different. All right. So Catalyst Bootcamp is happening September 12th through the 14th. That is pretty soon. All right. You have a couple of hours, okay, left to get the special webinar pricing. If you're getting this, just see how much time is left. If you're already past the webinar pricing, that's okay. You're still getting a 1K discount from the original pricing, so you're still getting a pretty decent steal. Okay, but if you get it before the clock runs out, then your investment right now is $29.97. All right, if you're getting it after the clock runs out, after the initial clock runs out, then it's $39.97, depending on when you're getting it, right? But so you have two choices. You can either close this browser, all done, go back to your normal routine, or you can click the button below and secure your spot. Choose your format. Are you going to do live stream or in person? Are you going to come alone or with a business partner? Because by the way, I didn't even mention, if you come with a business partner, there's an option that is discounted as well. But I'm going to let you choose, okay? Which choice can you live with? Which choice aligns with the person you want to become? All right? Click the link down below. Which choice will you be proud of 1 year from now? Listen, I can tell you, people have already snagged the deal. Okay, so by the grace of God, this is happening. The question is, will you be in the room, either in the room or virtually, right? Successful people like you are already locking in the special rate because they understand that the prices are going to go up as the event gets closer. All right. So right now, your future is being determined by the decision you're going to make in the next few minutes. Okay. But I'm excited because I know you. You're going to make the right decision. All right. It's been my pleasure hanging out with you. Okay. Click the link down below. Don't let it wait. Don't push it off. Don't say I'll get back to it. If you've come this far, listen, you want to do this. Okay. Just go ahead, click the link down below. There are options. There's Klarna if you want to do buy now, pay later. If you want us to even send you a link to do we have a third-party financing thing, whatever you need to do, don't let money be the reason you don't do this because we have payment options. Okay. Just click the link down below and sign up, and I will see you on Friday. Take care.